Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Kingswell Conversations. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here again with the fabulous Richard Kingswell to discuss all sorts of topics around foster and adoption in Virginia and beyond. These are conversations with heart that are shaping foster care and adoption. And we have with us our pro here, Richard Kingswell. How are you today, sir?
Very well, Miss Nikki. It's great to see you. Thank you for the invite.
You're welcome. And are you ready to impart some more of your incredible wisdom with us today?
We'll try our best. We'll see if I can give a little bit of nuggets to help people out.
All right. So without further ado, I have a question for you, and I'm going to read it so that I make sure I get it exactly accurate. So one of the things that we know that you specialize in with foster VA and extra special parents is therapeutic foster care. And what I'd really like to know today is, how do therapeutic foster parents support emotional regulation in everyday life? So we're not looking at theory here, we're looking at practical applications. How are parents managing this?
Well, I think the easiest way to look at it from a parent's perspective is they're not changing their personality to be.
Hold on, Richard, hold on a sec. You've gone completely.
The
Hold on. Okay, so my question for you today, in your capacity as CEO of Foster VA and Extra Special Parents, who are organisations that have a particular specialised interest in therapeutic foster care, my question for you is all about the parenting, and I want to get this right. So how do therapeutic foster parents support emotional regulation in everyday family life? So we're looking here at the practical side of parenting within therapeutic foster care. Can I hand that over to you for your pearls of wisdom, please?
Let me see what I can do for you, Nikki. So I think the first thing you have to really recognize as a potential, or if you are a foster parent, is that we're not asking you to change who you are. We're not molding you into this perfect being of a parent who foster children. What you bring to the table is very important to us. So it's very practical that if you have a routine where you may have breakfast all together, lunch all together, these sort of routines are fine and not to be changed. We want the parents to continue in their journey as a working individual. And so if you use blessings at the table, things like that, that's more than acceptable. We don't want you to change your behavior inside your house. We can't force the children to do that. So there's practical things like that you have to have balance. The routine, working out, so bedtimes are normal to your family. If you all sit down for dinner, they sit down at the same time. Kids just want to have stability. It's very important that when you're working with a child, that when you're in that transition for a new parent, there's a saying that I say quite often is, yes has no value if you never say no. And so you don't have to be this perfect yes person all the time. There's no need to be this perfect, yes, you can do that. Yes, you can do it. No's okay. Boundaries are good. So being able to thread in a few no's when you have less value, and it may upset the child because no, you can't have the Nintendo, you've got homework to do. These sort of practical things build trust that you're reliable. It's the reliability that's the most important. If food, shelter, abuse, all these things have been turning up in this child's life, they just want to know that you're going to be there. And yes, they may not like bedtime, they may not like bath time, they may not like putting their shoes on, but just be you. But also put those boundaries in place where that yes has a lot of value to them. And so it's just sprinkling a few no's is a very practical way of saying it's going to be okay. The world's not going to come to an end because of you have to give up your Nintendo for dinner. These sort of things are very practical, very useful. So these routines, the normal things about contact. Children who've been through trauma may not want any contact at all, and they may not want you to touch them, feel the environment around. They may not sit on the couch with you because they want their space. But this is part of their journey to trust you. So don't force the moments. Be practical about when that moment's coming.
Can I come in a sec there? Because actually one of the things that I wanted to sort of throw in here, we're talking about how parents are supporting emotional regulation. What does it look like when a child in therapeutic foster care is not emotionally regulated? So how will that present itself in order to then need to put in all these kind of systems and process and, you know, sort of routines that you're talking about? How will it present itself on average?
I think the easiest way to think of that is they're going to present as a normal upset child. They may be more extreme because of the trauma they've been through. So they may have throwing things. They may be isolating harder, where they just slam the door and they just want to be left alone for hours and hours and hours. And please do not touch, come near me, sort of things, just stay away. Where a normal child who hasn't been through that level of trauma may take 10, 15 minutes to make their point heard to the family that they're upset about whatever it is, but they don't have to be so magnified, I suppose is the best way to look at it, sort of thing. You don't have to see this very close-up image of a very upset child because of you've said, no, it's bedtime, lights out, this sort of thing. Well, you may bump into trauma where lights out was really bad, or you used a phrase that triggers off a memory of mum, dad, the abuser, and you have no idea those landmines are there, sort of thing. So when you see a magnified emotion, just reflect back and just say, okay, they've been through trauma. Let's just take a moment, reflect on yourself and say, I need to take a moment because they may have been very abusive to you, sort of thing. And parents taking a time out's okay as well. So hand over or take a momentary break and just say, okay, we're just going to take a break, no talking for a few minutes, and just step away for a moment, sort of thing. These sort of strategies can really help a child and the parents find regularity in the house again. But being upset's okay. Every child gets upset. It's just when a child becomes very isolated, shuts down, or goes to the other extremes and starts hurting themselves, hurting others, breaking things, just recognize them where they are at that moment and say, I'm here when you're ready to talk. I'm listening. I'm trying to hear you. Another little strategy that I really enjoy doing is when they escalate, you de-escalate. And I mean that by volume. So when they go up, you go down. And so when they start shouting, you start whispering. They'll get frustrated because you're not hearing them. And you say, I can't hear you when you're shouting. It's a very simple strategy for, okay, I want you to hear what I want to say. But if you've got old ears and you're deaf now because the volume's gone up, I'll go back down again. It's a little humor, but it's also very practical that trying to raise your voice above becomes a challenge, where if you drop your voice down an octave or two, just whispering, okay, I want to hear you. I want to hear you. I'm listening, but you're too loud. My ears are hurting. Could you just work with me here and take a little bit of responsibility on yourself? I think it's a very cool strategy to de-escalate the situation.
I think that's a very cool strategy for just about any parent, let alone a parent in a therapeutic foster care environment. I think I might sort of bring that one in and give it a go with my lot as well. Just as an aside, you mentioned about when a child takes themselves away off into their room. You know, you've got the slam the door, they've gone off. Is there a particular strategy for how you navigate that, or is it extremely child specific? So in the sense of, is there generally a rule of thumb that says give them 10 minutes, give them 20 minutes, give them as long as they need? I appreciate there will be some extreme cases where, you know, there may be a specific strategy for that child because of the trauma they've been in. But is that the same across every child, or is there a kind of like an average? What we tend to say is leave them for so long. What's the thought when a child legs it?
There's an English one that may not translate well into the American population, but so I think that age by time is a strategy I've used sometimes. I would say these are just children, and you have to blend your skills with their needs at the time. But 1 minute for every age they are is a good strategy, sort of thing. So giving them time by their age. So if you feel that they're a 7-year-old, give them 7 minutes. That's a lifetime in a room when you try to make a point, sort of thing. Always remember safety, that you've got to make sure that the child is not that upset that they're going to hurt themselves behind the door, sort of thing. But it could be a nice rule of thumb that you just look at their age and you say, okay, that's too long. Let me just take a little bit off. But the more escalated they are, the longer they need. But 3 minutes to a 5-year-old is a very long time to be missing without the person, sort of thing. So just knock on the door and I'm just going to check on you, make sure you're okay. I'm thinking of you. And then just open the door and make sure they're okay. And if they still just blow up, then wait another 3 minutes and leave the door open, let them do the closing, give them control over their safe space. They've gone to a safe space, and then try again. But do not force your way into their territory. They run to a place of safety. You do not need to go into there where they've called that safe. So if it's a bathroom or wherever it is they've disappeared to for their safe space, they've chosen that safe space as the place that, so don't enter until they've brought down their emotional regularity down to a point where you can just say, okay, now I can sit on the floor in the corner and just talk to them normally, and then get closer, and then get to a point where you can reassure them with physical touch if that's appropriate for that child, and then work out what the problem is, what's the solution going forward, and if there's any consequences for the behavior.
So in summary then, really what we're saying is, in essence, is the core of the parenting style is irrelevant to the child. It is core parenting activities, basic rules, basic boundaries, systems in place, words that you use, phrases that you use. If you would say no to a child who wasn't a foster child that was in your care, it's still okay to say no.
It's important.
Yeah, but to take on board that there may be some additional things that you may need to consider, like time frames of if a child wants to go off to a safe space, respecting the safe space, but learning a little bit more about what works for that particular child, or strategies that have been identified as things that help. Would you also say, just sort of, even if the child's a little bit older, so, we're looking sort of maybe over 10 years old, is it something that's appropriate to, as well as obviously you as the foster parent, you're going to be given lots of information about the history of the child, what how things have been worked for them so far. Is it fair to say it might be an idea, if they're older, is to sit down and discuss how are we going to work together in this home? What are the things that are going to be helpful to you? How can I help you? How can I support you whilst you're living in our home? How can we make this a place where you feel safe?
Having that conversation outside of a crisis is very important for the older child, the tweenies and the teens. Again, empowering them to make good decisions, sort of thing. Like, we have expectations that bedtime's here, and you've got to come back from school, so you've got curfew when you go to the mall, all the normal things a teenager would do. Again, your house shouldn't change, but your house should understand that these kids come with trauma. And so when you're not in a crisis, talk about rewards and consequences and things like that really do help children know that you're caring for them, and they're not surprised. If
when you
do this,
force something.
Yes, don't surprise them with consequences. That's cheating. That's parent cheating, and that's not fair to them. Say, look, these are their expectations, and do you have any objections to this objections that we eat together as a family? And do you understand why we have to go to bed? Because we have to be up at the school bus at 6:30. We can't stay up and playing games, so the PlayStations need to be turned off. These sort of things.
And I think also from the older child perspective, it also surely must give them an opportunity to feel that they've been heard, and that their thoughts or needs, etc., have actually been considered and potentially negotiated, potentially agreed, but they haven't just come in and had the walls slammed down in front of them and said, this is the way we run our house. This is the framework of how our home runs, but I'd like to have a conversation with you about any particular things that would work for you, and to see if we can integrate that into our home too. So they feel heard.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a big sit-down roundtable UN meeting. It can just be drizzled into conversations like we've got to do bedtime about 9 o'clock or 9:30, and you can be in your room for since 8:30 to but lights are out at 9 because we've got to get up at school at bus. Do you understand why we're doing this sort of thing? So don't do a round table, just sit down, here's the rules of the house sort of thing. It's you can drizzle them in over time, because as they come into your home, they will be traumatized, they will be lost, they don't know who you are, they don't know if they can trust you. So take it easy, take time and be yourself. Don't change for them, and let them change to your home. And it'll take a little time and trust and investment. But these are children, and the most important thing is these children want to be safe with you. They just need to find out if you're safe to be with them.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Kingswell, for sharing your knowledge with us again. And for those of you watching, I hope that was really helpful. If therapeutic foster care is a journey that you're considering embarking on, or if you work in the area of therapeutic foster care, if you would like more information about Richard's work, you can visit both the fabulous websites. The first one is www.fosterva.org, and there you can find Richard's free download, which is a 45-page comprehensive guide to fostering and adoption in Virginia. Or you can visit Extra Special Parents, which is www.espva.org. Richard, thank you so much. I shall catch up with you on our next episode.
Sounds fabulous, Nikki. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
Right, see you next time. And to those of you watching wherever you are in the world, we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.